Blog Talk Radio.
Friends, and welcome to The World Transformed. This program is your guide to an astounding future that lies ahead, one that will be here sooner than you think, and one that you have an important role to play in bringing about. At The World Transformed, we want to introduce you to what may be the greatest transformation of them all, the one that begins with considering and acting on the almost limitless possibilities that lie before us, and that ends somewhere beyond the reach of the human imagination. So, when does this amazing future begin? Well, today is the day. My name is Phil Bowermaster, and with me in the virtual studio is my co-blogger, co-futurist, and co-host, Stephen Gordon. Hello, Stephen.
Hey, Phil. How are you?
Well, I am super fantastic. How are you, my friend?
Man, I am doing great. This is sort of a return to, our old form. Monday nights was kind of at 9:30 was kind of our 9:30 Central, I should say.
Yeah, we've been doing these 5 o'clock shows last few weeks, but this time worked out better for us this week, so we're gonna, old home week. Let folks get home, relax, have a drink, have dinner, whatever, then cozy up to the computer and put on Fast Forward Radio. Sorry, I've been doing the classic shows. The World Transformed, I believe, is what we call it now. It's good to be back. Hey,
so.
Before we go any further with anything, I feel I have to say something. This is important. Because we were talking just before the show started, and it occurs to me that I'm actually the one who put the Trump story in the outline of the show. So it's on me.
Yeah.
It's a Trump story. I did it, so it's not your fault. So if anyone's listening to the show and they don't want to hear a Trump story, sorry that there's one in here. And if you're mad that there's a Trump story, it's not Stephen's fault. Okay, I put it in the outline. All right. So.
Right.
I just want there to be full disclosure. Okay, I was blaming you for something I did.
We're going to keep it as apolitical as we can, though. Please
right.
understand.
Well, that's what I was saying. It's like it'd be better if we didn't even do a Trump story. But hey, I can't take that position having put it on the show. So
that's right.
Well,
so
But it's interesting. Hey, we got to talk about the interesting space stuff, and we got a great show tonight because we're going to talk about getting closer to the final frontier, how we might be on our way to Mars, and then even possibly on our way to the stars. But before we do, just a quick side trip to low Earth orbit because I was just so impressed by this story. Soccer ball recovered from ill-fated shuttle Challenger flown to space station. What an amazing story. And this
nice
link isn't currently in the show notes, but I'll add it. You got to take a look at this picture of this soccer ball floating up there in the space station. Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, and it looks like it's had some wear, of course. The fact that this survived, the explosion is pretty amazing. And it's a nice tribute to the Challenger crew. And glad that it was taken to the space station. Apparently, it was there was some link between a family member of those astronauts and the current ISS people. I don't know.
That's right.
I would guess that an astronaut family is a small family. So. Yeah.
Well, there you go. Ellison Onizuka was on the Challenger. His daughter played soccer for this particular school, and all the kids on the soccer team had signed this ball. So it was this really cool thing that this soccer ball from this school was going to get to go up into orbit and then come back and be in the school. And then later, sadly, after the crash, it was found and then it was displayed there in the school. But it turns out that an astronaut on the current mission in the space station, Shane Kimbrough, also has a kid who goes to that school, heard that story and said, hey, we got to take this thing back up, right? So So it's a nice.
It needs to actually get to space. Yes.
Yeah.
So
it finally made it to space, and of course with the anniversary of the both the Shuttle Challenger and Shuttle Columbia and Apollo 1 disasters all clumped together there, right? What was it, last week, right? And week before. Nice to see this kind of tribute, kind of a way of remembering it that has kind of a positive feel to it, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. And it's sort of a reminder: frontiers are dangerous places, and that's there's a human cost to it, but we keep paying it because it's that important to humanity.
It's the time of year we have to remember that. And also, I would just say it's the time of year we should never launch rockets, right? There should just be I don't know.
Yeah, I guess not. Yeah.
It hasn't worked out well for us. I don't know.
Or we go the other way, and it's the time of the year we always launch rockets, maybe.
Well, that's a thought too. Because come to think of it, Columbia was on the way back, right? It wasn't the launch so much. Anyway, so that was a great story, and you should check out that picture. But now let's talk about. Hey, I've got this Donald Trump story I want to share, Stephen, if that's going to be okay. Here's the headline. This is from our good buddy Brian Wong over at Next Big Future. Trump may fund the SpaceX Mars colonization plan. And Brian lays out a case here. He says, hey, come on, Elon Musk, the founder of SpaceX and Tesla, the guy who wants to take us to Mars, has made trips to Trump Tower. He's met with Trump. He's talked about Mars with Trump. Is it possible that President Trump, is going to sign on to Elon Musk's outrageous let's go to Mars plan? What do you think? Is there anything to this?
Well, there could be. And Elon Musk's position's a little more official than that. He's actually on an advisory council now for the president. And he's taken some real heat about that. And it was interesting that this weekend there was sort of a Twitter storm about it, and Elon Musk he's defended himself. He said, "Look, I'm a moderate, probably a moderate to the left, but anyway, he's, he is moderate, and also he's, what is he? He is an immigrant, and perhaps even at one point he might have been sort of not completely illegal immigrant for a moment,
right.
As quickly as he could, he got legal, but." And so, his perspective is such that he wants to give advice to the president, so that these people that are criticizing Musk the most would presumably want something other than the people on the far right advising Trump. But I mean, if you're going to tar and feather people for an association, then that's all that's going to be left is people on the far right. So
I mean, because people are also complaining that Trump is anti-science, he's anti-technology, right? You hear those complaints. It's like so here you got this totally pro-science, pro-technology guy advising the president. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a good idea. I think it's a great idea to have.
There's not a lot of emotions flying around these days, and perhaps. Yeah. Some of them not as useful as others. That's as political as I'm going to get.
Okay. Well, I'm with you on that 100%. But anyway, so could he be leaning in that direction, Trump? Who knows? He's I would say this: it's been an energetic first 2 weeks. So I guess that's as much as I could say about
the thing is,
Trump would
about Trump is he's not
in a Mars program.
Yeah, he's not embarrassed to take on big stuff, and he's not embarrassed to act fast.
Right.
He's been very bold his first couple of weeks, and he ran on bold initiatives, positions. Think what you will of them. I don't think anybody's going to say they weren't bold.
Right.
But could he be this bold?
I could definitely hear a "We choose to go to Mars" speech coming out of his mouth. I could hear that.
Yes. It would not be Kennedy-esque, probably, but it would. It would be pretty awesome in its own way, actually.
Kennedy was poetic when he spoke. Trump is like on the far end of that spectrum, I think you could say.
It would be a very different speech. But
it would be.
But I mean, you know, anybody who talks about building a wall,
it's going to be the best
on the border, you know, he's not just going to say, hey, maybe we should go. Here's the thing: we've had presidents, my whole adult life, who've said, hey, maybe we got to go back to space or something, you know. And every now and then they would, at the State of the Union, throw out something. Hey, we're going to go back to the moon one day, or we're going to go back to Mars, or we're going, you know, I'm going to build a space plane or something like that. But none of it ever went anywhere, right? Trump seems like the kind of guy, if he did get on board with it, we would actually see some progress, right? I mean, something would probably probably happen.
Something else is, well, you know, you got other countries now looking to go to the moon and things like that, and you know, the same way Kennedy, you know, we were so far behind in the space race when Kennedy made that speech, right? And it was like, okay, I'm moving the finish line. I'm gonna, you know. Right. The Russians are acting like they've already crossed the finish line. I'm moving the finish line. We're freaking going to the moon, okay?
Right.
And so I could see, you know, a little bit of Trump ego involved here. So, you know, some other country manages to get to the moon. Well, we're going to, you know, forget you people on the friggin' moon. That's local, you know. So I could see him doing
exactly. Yeah. No, moon.
And
we did that half a century ago. We're going to Mars. Yeah.
That's right. Congratulations.
Exactly.
Welcome to the '60s.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see you in the 23rd century in Mars. Okay. But you know, the question is, for one thing, this kind of puts a spin on it that I hadn't thought about, which was up to now I've not heard Elon Musk say anything about I need a government to sponsor me to do this, right?
Yeah.
This is a new idea. How much money does he need, right, to do this? Because you know it's an expensive undertaking. And let's say for a moment that Trump doesn't bite, which I assume he's probably not going to. I'll be very surprised, pleasantly surprised, but very surprised if President Trump says, yeah, we're going to Mars. Does this mean there's no way of really financing this unless he does get a government on board? Has this whole thing been kind of smoke and mirrors? Or will he find some other way of doing it? What do you think?
There's a lot of SpaceX is the commercial space business with the most cred, wouldn't you say? I mean, you know, there are other private space concerns, but none of them have quite the credibility of SpaceX. SpaceX is the only one that sent something to orbit, right, and to the ISS, and that's as far as any private venture has ever gone. And it's ramping up to have heavy lifters that could, you know, could take us to Mars. So yeah, he's got the credibility to do it, and you know, but as far as the money, well, I mean, what about, you know, mining these asteroids? There's, you know, go find one of those $1 trillion asteroids and get a piece of that, right? That'd be one way to finance going to Mars. So,
well, that would be more the Heinlein novel approach, I got to say, right? If we are living in a Robert A. Heinlein novel, that's what the guy would do, right? The government says no,
right,
and then he goes and finds a big space diamond or something like that, and then cashes it in and goes to Mars anyway. Yeah, it would almost kind of ruin it for me. Although it would be exciting if the government got on board with it. It would almost kind of ruin it for me if it became a government project. Because one of the things that's so cool about it is that it's just, you know, this guy has been saying, hey, we're going to go to Mars. You know, I've got a company, and this is where humanity needs to go, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to Mars. Something about that really appeals to me. And I hope it can keep that feel as the project proceeds. But I don't know. Interesting stuff. It'll be very interesting to see if Trump does get on board with it. Of course, then it becomes another big political hot potato because everything, you know, we're at this stage, not to get political again, but we're at the stage where everything he does is going to be, you know, in the crosshairs, right? So at that point, we might have a lot of people who otherwise would have been for going to Mars knee-jerk against it, right? Because
well, maybe the president thought it was a good idea. That we're never going to Mars. That's what he needs to do. Make an announcement that we're never going to Mars. It's never going to happen. And then,
a little reverse psychology, huh? That's not a bad idea.
Yeah, a little reverse. Yeah, I don't know. But, yeah.
But purity aside, whatever gets us there works for me, I got to say. Anything that...
That's right. It's important. It's important. Stephen Hawking, for example, no fan of Trump. Right? I think he would be pleased if we got to Mars that way. He feels we need to become a multiplanetary species, and I can, I'm on board with that. It's
all right. Well, let's do it. Let's do it for Stephen Hawking. Right? I mean,
yeah, there we go.
Let's do it for Stephen. I think that's that's an excellent plan.
Let's
move on. We got one more of these to talk about, and then we've got a little spin-off about this one. But how an interstellar starship could actually explore Alpha Centauri. This is so cool. This Gizmodo article, I believe it was by George Dvorsky, but whoever it was by, this is an awesome article. Talking about building a light sail that can be accelerated to 1/5 the speed of light and take a robotic probe to Alpha Centauri and get it there in 20 years. Awesome. Okay, that is awesome. The problem with that approach is you fire at the thing with laser beams, right? And when it gets there, it can't stop, right? So you do this very fast flyby. Yeah, of Alpha Centauri. Kind of like what we did with Pluto, only much faster because you're going at near relativistic speed. So if you don't blink, literally, right, you might catch a little Alpha Centauri. But now they've modified the plan. They say, hey, wait a second, we don't need the lasers. And what we can do is we can have this probe propelled by solar power, by the actual power from the sun. And when we get close enough, we can turn the sail around and decelerate using solar power from Alpha Centauri itself. So, it's like we can speed up and slow down. It takes longer, right? It's going to take about a century in that case. Yeah, 5 times as long to get to Alpha Centauri. But then when you get there, you can actually tour the whole system. You can go see all 3 stars in the Alpha Centauri system. I don't know, Stephen. What do you think? What's cool to me about this is it's like we're developing star exploration ideas and refining them, and they're talking reasonable time frames and stuff. For the first time, really, I think this is being seriously discussed.
Right. Well, there's a big difference between a 20-year project and a century project. Being able to linger in the system with probes is fantastic, obviously. And think about it. Any signal we get back, information we get back, would be 4 years old, wouldn't it, at least? But so it'd take a century to get there, and then another 4 years to start receiving data from from that system. But hey, we don't. The quicker we start, the quicker this happens, right? I wonder though what if this worked, that you can have get a probe there and be able to slow it down because it uses this, it turns around and uses the solar energy from Alpha Centauri to slow down. What if we were able to get a laser unit or something, a system in the Alpha Centauri to be able to point at incoming probes and slow them down? Put it in
you got to get there first, though, right?
A planet or something. Yeah, so you're talking a century to get something there, and then once you have something like that, tended to by robots, perhaps, then as probes come in, you could slow them down with the laser, which means that you could get stuff there in 20 years that could stay. It provided you have something positioned in the system to slow it down, other than just the sun itself, right?
Right.
And so, anyway, it's I think it's a fantastic
That's a cool idea.
These are not. Yeah. These
So
are
you take
not
100 years to get there the first time,
not,
and then it's a 20-year trip after that.
That's right, because you got something positioned there to slow down whatever's coming in. But it's this is the Breakthrough Starshot Initiative that has a lot of heavy hitters on it. Right, this is not a bunch of guys in their basements. This is a big deal. These people are taken seriously, aren't they?
They are completely serious about it. Hey, I wanted before we talk a little bit more about the Breakthrough Starshot Initiative, I wanted to give my alternative to the plan. Is why are they going to Alpha Centauri A and then B and then Proxima when we know Proxima is the one with the Earth-like planet, right? Why not just send a
That's true.
Send a probe straight to Proxima, shouldn't we? It's the closest one anyway. Thus the name.
Yeah, it is. It is the closest one. Yeah. I looking at the picture that was there in the article, it almost looked like that they were going to send probes and slingshot them around the other stars and tour the 3-star system one at a time. With gravity boost, as it comes around each of the stars, and for whatever reason, perhaps Proxima is not conducive to that. So if you wanted a probe to tour all 3 systems, or all 3 stars, apparently Proxima is not the best one. I'm guessing that's the reason. But
yeah,
you're right,
I mean the way they've got it. Yeah, the way they got it figured is you go to 100 years to get to Alpha Centauri A. You tour it for a while, then a few days to get over to B, tour it for a while, and then 46 years to get to Proxima Centauri. So you've gone 150 years before you. It would be by the time you got a signal back, 150 years from when it was launched until you saw something back on Proxima. And since it's the one with the interesting planet, that's my tweak. If they're listening, that's my suggestion. Let's just go straight to Proxima. I want to see what's going on in that.
Well,
I'm curious about that Earth-like
in
planet.
In addition to the position, getting a laser there that could slow down your probes as they come in, I would also suggest not one probe, a swarm. Every single time you do this, you need to send 100 of these things so that maybe 5 of them make it. Right? I would imagine that it's a dangerous trip, and 100 years is a long time. We're in extreme conditions out there in interstellar space. So, I would
it's
definitely build
can
some redundancy into this. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot can happen to a very small, frail little probe over the course of 100 years. Even out in interstellar space, where there's theoretically not a lot going on, right? It shouldn't be, shouldn't be encountering too many objects or anything like that. But who knows? It seems like that level of redundancy would probably be a really excellent idea. So this Breakthrough Starshot Initiative, a group of people, like-minded people, got together and said, "Hey, let's start talking about how we do interstellar travel." And this is really interesting when you think about it in the context even of our show, that we've got people seriously talking about interstellar exploration when we haven't even landed a human anywhere besides the moon. Right, we've done some pretty good unmanned exploration of the solar system, and I guess really for these folks, this is an extension of that, right? How do we do unmanned exploration of the rest of the universe? Well, we start with the closest star. I guess maybe from their standpoint, that's the logical thing to be thinking about anyway. Is not how do we get a man to Mars, or a human to Mars, but how do we get a probe to Alpha Centauri? Anyway, that's what they're working on, and I think it's awesome. I think it's awesome that, per your point, this is not a bunch of hobbyists. These are heavy hitters, and they're serious about it. People take them seriously, and it's not a government project at all. Going to the moon, government project, right? All of the planetary probes that we've had going on up to this point have been government projects. Now we're talking about star travel, and it's just this, committee of people who've decided that it would be a good idea to go to Alpha Centauri. That's pretty cool.
It is, and I think that ultimately this may be the way we tour the stars, with with very, very intelligent AI systems, robots, things like that make the trip. Our human bodies we're built for the planet Earth. We really are. And there's things that we can do to modify ourselves, I'm sure, to make ourselves able to handle space flight better than we do. But ultimately, I don't think that we'll be able to compete with robots going out, and particularly as they get smarter and smarter and more capable all the time. We're talking von Neumann probes at some point, right?
Yeah, well, I think eventually
get to Alpha Centauri and then reproduce and go in 5 different directions from there.
Yeah, so eventually we go as robots, probably. We go uploaded and embedded into the machinery, because that's going to make a lot more sense than Starship Enterprise type stuff. Much as we love that stuff, that approach is going to make a lot more sense. But I think that the organizational side of this is very interesting, and it puts me in mind of an idea that I guess actually Alvin Toffler came up with in his book, The Temporary Society, in Future Shock. I guess it was actually come up with by some guy named Warren Bennis in a book called The Temporary Society, but then Toffler made it more popular. I'm going to admit I never heard of it. The term is adhocracy. I never heard of it until I read Down and Out in the Magic Kingdom by Cory Doctorow. But in that book, that's basically the government that runs the world, right? It's adhocracy. People just kind of take responsibility for things they're interested in, and they run the things they're interested in. And I wonder if you look at this and you say, well, we always talk in terms of ultimately things that once belonged to nation states kind of pass into the hands of companies, and then they pass into the hands of smaller companies, and then ultimately they pass in the hands of just people who want to do those things. So technology ultimately supports an adhocracy kind of a model, all things being equal, right? If governments let go of control.
Right.
Are we seeing an early instance of adhocracy here with this Starshot Initiative? What do you think?
Oh, yeah. I mean, this. I love how this was, stated in the article. I encourage everybody to go read it. What's new, Freeman Dyson? Well, looks like we're going to Alpha Centauri. And that's cool. I mean, we just choose to go, and we believe that we have the method to do it now. And
right.
And formerly it was just a flyby. It's looking more and more like they'll attempt to be able to get probes there that can linger, and that's so cool. We can learn so much that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's cool about it is, to me, that nobody assigned him, right? Maybe they asked him to be part of it, but he just says, yeah, let's just do this. Group of people who decided it was cool to send a probe to another star system got together and said, let's start working on this project. That makes me wonder what other kind of cool projects we're going to see people just kind of get together and work on in the near future, up to and including alternatives to this, right? There's other stars that aren't that much farther away. Maybe, maybe we start having some competing missions to some of them, and there's an awful lot that can be done inside the solar system. We've talked about the commercial exploitation of space, commercial development of space. Well, if a group of people can just get together and decide they're going to put together a program around going to the stars, I think people can just get together and decide they're going to start mining the asteroids too. So lots of interesting potential there, don't you think?
Absolutely.
Well, you know what? I think that just about does it for us on time. We're going to be back on Wednesday with an amazing show, and of course on Friday this week with some more interesting topics and other geeks. Stephen, great talking with you. It's great having you all with us. And until next time, live to see it.
Hi, this is Maury Moreland Morrison, here to tell you Geico has more than just great savings. Much more. Geico's been around for more than 75 years, back when they were using Morse code. Sorry, that's just my sense of humor. What's more, with Geico, you get 24/7 access to licensed agents on the app, online, or over the phone, so you can talk to them at night or in the morning. So forevermore, just know that no other auto insurer has more than Geico. More power to you. Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.